Janet Jackson was trending on social media, getting a bunch of disrespect from all the newfound fake Kamala Harris stans. And I say they're fake because there are the same people who just a couple of months ago didn't like Kamala Harris, didn't really know anything about her, and wasn't checking for her at all. All of these new Kamala fans lashed out at Janet Jackson after The Guardian released an interview. That interview was supposed to be about the life and career of Janet, the 10th and youngest child of the American iconic family, the Jacksons. But the interviewer, this Indian woman right here, she thought it was cute to hijack Janet's moment to talk about Kamala Harris. We're talking about Janet Jackson, who's been working as an actress, artist, dancer for about 6 decades. There's so much to discuss about her and her family that's also been on the scene for nearly 7 decades. And instead, the interviewer, she decided to bring up the pretending chameleon, Kamala Harris. Very suspicious for sure. So yeah, the interview was all about Miss Jackson until the reporter tried to get Janet Jackson to endorse Kamala on the low. The reporter posed a question about what Janet thought about possibly having the first black female president. And Janet's response was like, is she black? I heard she was Indian. She said she heard her mama was Indian and her daddy was white. Then the reporter kept pushing the issue. She repeated the question, trying to nail Janet to the cross on it, then told Janet that Kamala's dad is Jamaican. Again, they play this trick all the time. Kamala's dad was born in Jamaica. His ancestors were Irish slave owners in Jamaica, and his dark-skinned ancestors are Indians, not African. But these folks are so desperate to make this Indian lady black American, they'll try to pull an African descendant from anywhere, just to try to make her one of us. When at the end of the day, it doesn't matter how much you try, Kamala is not black American, period. End of discussion. Her Indian mama came to the U.S. on a plane from India, and her Indian Irish daddy came to America on a plane from Jamaica. Kamala was born in California, where her mom was listed as Caucasian on her birth records, and her Indian mama, who wanted to be classified as white, moved her and her sister to Canada, where she eventually purchased a house with them lawns Kamala keep talking about. All of this in Canada, surrounded by Kamala's other Indian aunties and uncles. She's not black American by lineage, race, or culture. Yeah, they want us to give her credit and make her black for going to a black college for a few years while ignoring her Canadian middle school and Canadian high school she went to. You know, she spent her vital years growing up in Canada. My thing is, why is she not being called Canadian? You know, like how they're trying to call her black for spending a couple of years at Howard, trying to cloak her in blackness, and don't even want to discuss her Canadian upbringing in the 70s and 80s. And we all know why. The whole purpose is to gain support from black America. They're so desperate for black support that they will literally lie and make up a whole background for this woman. For years, they ran her as an Indian candidate. Then when the Black Boule women gave an ultimatum to Biden in 2020, or else they wouldn't support him, Biden then came up with this trick here. They made her black American, picking her while passing over all the real black women, and the Black Boule fell for it. Now, instead of changing the topic, the interviewer wanted Janet to say more, so she's like, is America prepared to see Kamala in office? She said, I don't know. Honestly, I don't want to answer that because I really truthfully don't know. I think either way, it's going to be mayhem. So everybody's talking about it now. Was Janet right or wrong? At the end of the day, whether you like it or not, she definitely wasn't wrong. First off, why was this Indian lady taken away from this black American woman's shine to bring up the lesser known Kamala Harris? Well, she was using Janet and her name to try to push and promote Kamala and get Janet to endorse her. A lot of Americans still admit they don't know who she is. But it went left really quick when the reporter said that Kamala would be the first black woman. And Janet Jackson knew the truth that this lady was a red dot Indian, not a black American woman at all in any way. Nah, Janet, she's not stupid. She knows we're dealing with the second coming of Rachel Dolezal. Kamala went to Howard just like Rachel Dolezal. So if we're going to knock everybody across the head and bully them into calling Kamala something she's not, black American, then they need to give Rachel Dolezal her job back at the NAACP. I'm just saying. So the article was released by The Guardian, and a bunch of people started going in on Janet Jackson, attempting to create the narrative that black Americans are canceling Janet Jackson. Let me say this right now, and I mean it. There's no way black Americans are canceling Janet Jackson and will allow any Jackson family slander, especially when Tito Jackson just died last week. Now, we're not doing this over this forced conversation, this attempted forced endorsement of this pretending chameleon. No way. And the biggest idiot in this situation is DL Hughley. Charlemagne should have named DL the donkey of the day on The Breakfast Club. DL's vicious, unnecessary attack on Janet Jackson, all in the name of supposedly protecting black women. Which is hilarious, by the way. DL is so-called protecting black women by putting on the cape for a non-black woman and going in on an actual black American woman in the most vicious way. He said, all I know is Kamala looks like she did when she was in Oakland, but Janet don't look like she did when she was Penny. He said Janet Jackson's interview sounded like a Trump rally. FYI, it's a little ironic to question whether someone is black while you're breathing through the nose of a white woman. But yeah, he said Kamala Harris looks the way she does because she has a mom from India and a dad from Jamaica. Janet Jackson looks the way she does because she has a plastic surgeon. And this is so crazy. Most of Kamala's features come from her Indian background and her Irish background. So even in his ridiculous response, DL is really low-key propping up non-black features in a non-black woman and comparing them to the features of a black woman. I don't know why anybody didn't notice that. But you see how these people are crashing out for this lady, and that's how I know they know Kamala isn't really black. DL will never come out and defend a black woman like this. No way. I'm telling you, I'm convinced at this point they gotta have something on DL. For him to go from being one of Kamala's biggest critics just a few years ago, he's become her biggest attack dog. In the words of Keith Sweat, something just ain't right. He's out here on the battlefield for his Indian lady, but won't protect his own family like this. Honestly, when it's all said and done, I know his own black family, including his black daughter, they're going to look at this and analyze his behavior over the last couple of weeks, and it's going to hit them. It's going to go through their mind like, wow, if only he protected us like that. That's what his wife is going to say. That's what his daughter is going to say. He allowed his own so-called friend to violate his daughter, and when his daughter told him, he did nothing about it. He denied it and told her she was lying, because if he denied it was true, then he wouldn't have to do anything about it. Absolutely disgusting, by the way. If only he showed his real black family the same love, attention, support, and protection. Nah, instead he's out here sounding like somebody's old auntie yelling about Kamala every day. Yeah, I'm convinced they definitely have something on DL. DL was allegedly at them Diddy parties too. We better not find out he was out here slipping and sliding that baby oil. And speaking of fathers, why is Kamala's dad, her only so-called piece of blackness that they're attempting to dig up, hanging on this man's nationality, a country, and trying to convert it into a race? Like white Jamaicans don't exist. Like Indian Jamaicans don't exist. Like Chinese Jamaicans don't exist. The one person who can clear up all of this and come out and say he's not just Indian and Irish is her dad. And he's not saying a word at all. Why is that? His silence is very telling. Think about it. Kamala's always talking about her Indian mama that's not alive anymore. But she's got her dad that's still alive right now and won't say a word. Why is that? Because Donald J. Harris is fully aware that his daughter is pandering. Yes, that's what it really is. He's actually disgusted with his daughter for her lies. He expressed that during the last election cycle, and that right there should tell you everything. Big shout out to everybody supporting the channel. Much love to Elizabeth. I certainly appreciate you, Elizabeth, as well as Ventress. Thank you, Ventress, for showing support. If you want to show your support for the channel too, you have to use PayPal for now. The link is below. Ladies, fellas, want a balanced analysis, want the truth from a woman's perspective? Then you're going to want to subscribe to this channel, and don't forget to like and share.